Hi everyone, in this video we're going to be going over the directions and the rubric for your hand sewing project. For your hand sewing project, you're going to be creating your own felt monster. So this is kind of like a mini stuffed animal or a plushie that looks like a monster. So I'll show you some examples from other students that have done this. You can see it's just some different pieces of colored fabric sewn together. You add some eyes and a mouth, and it looks like a little monster. And we're going to go over the specific expectations for your monster and everything that I want you to include on it. So these directions and the rubric will be posted on Google Classroom. You'll also get a copy in class to keep in your folder, so you can look at either one to follow your directions. The directions are split into 7 parts. It's my expectation that you work through these parts at your own pace. You read through all the steps and complete them accordingly. So the first part you're going to work through is the pattern. So you're actually going to cut your monster out of a piece of paper and draw on where you want all of your stitches. The expectations are that you have 3 different stitches on your monster, at least. So you'll have a running stitch, a back stitch, and an overcast stitch. You can do more than that. You can add in some different stitches if you want to. You are always welcome to go above and beyond, but you have to have at least those 3. You're also required to have a button on your monster. So wherever you want to put it on there is totally fine with me, but you must sew a button onto your monster. Finally, on your pattern, you're going to want to make sure that your monster has at least 1 eye and 1 mouth and 3 extra designs. So you can add more than 1 eye, and those extra eyes can count as your extra designs. You could give him 3 mouths, and 2 of those mouths would count for your extra designs. However you want to design your monster is up to you, but you have to have at least 1 eye, 1 mouth, and 3 extra designs. Once you draw all of those things onto your paper, so you mark up your pattern, you draw it all on your paper, you can actually go and get your felt. You'll get 2 pieces of felt. You can pick 2 different colors. Once you use those 2 pieces of felt, you can use the scrap pieces of felt from the bins in the middle of your tables, but you cannot get a new piece of felt. So you'll only get 2. So choose your colors wisely, whatever 2 colors you want to use. You'll pin your pattern to your felt and then go ahead and cut it out around the side. Make sure you're paying attention on your directions where it says that you need to show Miss Costin or I your pattern and have a sign on the line. After you finish cutting it out, you're going to add your decorations. That just means you're actually going to go in and sew on the things you marked onto your paper pattern. So if you said you were going to do 2 eyes and 2 eyebrows, you're going to go sew those on with your different stitches. If you decide to decorate the back, it is not required. Make sure you're decorating the right side. So line your pieces up, make sure they match properly before you start to sew. Once you've finished adding all your decorations on, you're happy with how your monster looks, we can actually put your monster together. So when you're sewing your monster together, you're going to make sure the decorated sides are facing out. So your decorated sides are facing outwards, and you're going to put the undecorated sides facing inwards. You'll sew all the way around the edge of your monster, except for about 2 or 3 inches. You're going to leave a gap that's about 2 or 3 inches long, so that way we can stick the stuffing into your monster afterwards. The stitch that you use to sew your monster together can count as one of your 3 stitches. So remember, you're required to have the running stitch, the back stitch, and the overcast. If you use an overcast stitch to sew your monster together, that counts as one of your stitches. So keep that in mind whenever you're doing your planning. After you've sewn it, you have that gap. So you've left a 2 or 3 inch opening along a straight edge. You're going to add your stuffing in there and then sew the opening shut. Make sure your knots are in the inside so you can't see them from the outside and your monster is sewn up tight. Once you're totally finished with your monster, you're going to complete the written monster evaluation and then also the student evaluation section on your rubric. So the written monster evaluation, I want you to read through these questions on your own after you watch this video, but it's just asking you about the colors you used. You're going to give your monster a name, explain what you would do differently, what makes you smile, and then think about the skills you've learned during this project and how you could apply them for something else. So read through those questions and you'll answer those after you finish your felt monster. Finally, I want us to just take a look at our rubric. So this is the rubric. This project is out of 100 points. You can score from 1 to 4 in each category. We're going to go through the 4 category because I expect that you're all going to score 4s all the way down your rubric. So for the planning, you're going to turn in that pattern, remember the one that you drew on with your final project, and it's all marked up with your design plan. You show where you're going to use your 3 stitches and where your 3 accessories are going to be. That'll be your planning. That's where you'll get those points. The next section is cutting. So the fabric edges are smooth and accurate. There's no jagged edges on your final project. Remember how we talked in class that sometimes shears can give us that jagged edge? I want you to be very careful and cut slowly so that all of the edges are very smooth and accurate. Next, you'll be scored on your stitches. So you have your 3 required stitches. That's important. You have the running stitch, the back stitch, the overcast stitch on your final project, and they meet industry standards. What that means is that your stitches are neat, your knots are in the inside, your stitches look nice. They're not all over the place or super big. The next one you'll be graded on is your button. So your button is sewn on correctly using the technique we learned in class. It's secure and it's flush with the fabric. That just means it's not hanging by a thread. It's not really loose. It's right up against the fabric. And make sure you add your shank on your button because we're going to be looking for that as well. The next category is accessories. So 3 or more accessories are present on your final project, and the monster has a design that resembles a face. Remember, you can add however many eyes and however many mouths you want to, but you have to have at least one of each. You can add noses in, whatever your extra accessories you want to be, and your monster looks like it has a face. Finally, you'll be graded on the finishing, so all the threads around the project are trimmed. It looks nice, it looks neat. You've put effort into making sure that you've done your absolute best work on this project and you're turning in something you're proud of. This is our rubric. Like I said, your last step, you'll finish your written evaluation, so the questions, and then you'll also do a self-evaluation. So you're going to score yourself in each of these categories, and then we will give you your final score that will go in the gradebook. Let me know if you have any questions about this project or if you're confused about anything. Otherwise, you can go ahead and get started on your felt monster.